Hello everyone, I welcome you all to Vision Gate, myself Shantanu Chaudhary. So today we will continue with the mechanism part that we have started in the last lecture. So in the last lecture we have discussed about various types of links, various types of kinematic pairs, and we have discussed about the mobility. So in today's lecture we will see about various types of mechanisms and different types of mechanical definitions. Okay, so we will start off with the 4-bar mechanism. So we will represent it as the 4R mechanism. Okay, 4R mechanism. Okay, so what do we mean by 4R mechanism? So this R implies that we have 4 revolute pairs. Okay, so let's consider this. Let's consider we have 4 links. Okay, so we have 4 links. So we have 4 links connected by revolute pairs. Okay, so we have 4 links connected by revolute pairs. Okay, so there are 4 links over here which are connected using revolute pairs. Okay, so using revolute pairs, that means pin joints. We have discussed about these things. So a revolute pair is a lower pair having 1 degree of freedom. Okay, so this is one revolute pair, this is one, this is one, this is one. So we have 4 revolute pairs connecting 4 different links. Okay, so let's say we consider this the shortest link, the link length, the shortest link of this as the name will be given as S. Let's say this S. This S describes the name of the shortest link. Okay, this is the shortest link length. Okay, S. So let's say the longest link is L. The longest link is L. Let's say. So the other 2 links are, let's say, P and Q. Okay. So the P and Q are the other 2 link lengths. So this is a 4-bar mechanism. Okay, so this is a 4-bar mechanism or a 4 revolute pair mechanism. Okay, so let's say we have denoted as S as the smallest link length, L as the length of the largest link or the longest link, and P and Q are the lengths of the other 2 links. Okay, so let's discuss what do we understand by Grashoff's law. Okay, what do we mean by Grashoff's law? Okay, so Grashoff's law states that if the smallest link and the longest link, let's say this S plus L, if the link lengths of the smallest and the longest, if this is less than equal to, the lengths of the other 2 links, okay, the lengths of the other 2 links, okay, so this is the Grashoff criterion. Okay, so this is our Grashoff criterion. Okay, if during analysis we have this criterion holds good, then Grashoff's law states that if this criterion holds good, then there will be at least one completely rotating link. Okay, among these 4 links, if this quantity is satisfied, if this inequality is satisfied, then of the 4 links, of the 4 different links, there will be at least one link which will be completing a rotation. Okay, there will be at least one link which will be completing one complete rotation. Okay, so let's say now which one will complete a rotation, that we will see right now. Okay, so Grashoff's law states that there will be at least one revolving link if this link is satisfied. There will be at least one revolving link of the 4 members if there will be at least one. Okay, there may be more, but at least one will be a link which will be having a complete rotation. Okay, but there may be more also, but there will be at least one which will be one link. There will be at least one link which will be performing a complete revolution or a complete rotation. Okay, if this S plus L is less than equal to P plus Q. Okay, so this is what we call as a Grashoff chain. Okay, a 4-bar mechanism, this satisfying this inequality is called as a Grashoff chain. Okay, okay, so what have we learned from the Grashoff's law? That in a 4-bar mechanism, if this inequality is satisfied, that means the sum of the link lengths of the shortest and the longest link is always less than equal to the sum of the lengths of the other 2 links, then there will be at least one link which will be performing a complete revolution or a rotation. Okay, so this is what we call as the Grashof law. I will repeat again. So Grashof's law states that in a 4-bar mechanism, if the sum of the link lengths of the shortest and the longest link is less than the sum of the link lengths of the other two links, then there will be at least one link which will be performing a complete rotation. Okay, fine. So we will see which one will be performing a rotation. Let's see. Okay. So now before we execute this Grashof's law, let's understand what do we mean by kinematic inversion. Okay. What is kinematic inversion? Okay. So a kinematic inversion is basically a mechanism made of the same links, but at each of the times if we fix different types of links, let's say first of all we fix this link, we will have a different relative motion, we will have a different motion among these all other links. Okay, now instead of fixing this link, let's say we fix this link. Okay, so we will have a different type of motion. Now instead we fix this link, we will have yet another different types of motion. So basically we see that the number of link lengths, the number of links are there. Let's say there are 4 different links. So each of the links can be fixed at one instant and we can get a different mechanism. Okay, so this is what we call as kinematic inversion. Okay, fixing of different links in a particular mechanism fixing of different links in a particular mechanism. Okay, so kinematic inversion is applied only on a same mechanism made of the same configuration and same types of rigid bodies. Okay, then only we will get a kinematic inversion. Okay, it is not like we use this mechanism and fix one link and we use another mechanism and fix another link. This is not the case. In the same mechanism, at once we fix this link, then we fix other link, then we fix other links. Okay, this is the case in the single mechanism only. Okay, so fixing of different links in a particular mechanism to obtain different types of motion, is called as kinematic inversion. Okay, so we will fix each of the links once at a time and we will analyze the motion, what happens. Okay, so we will analyze the motion. So what do we mean by kinematic inversion? Fixing each of the links once at a time, each of the different links once at a time results in a different type of motion. Okay, so that fixing of different links is called as kinematic inversion. Okay, so let's erase and see what happens. So one thing should be understood is that even though we fix different links, okay, and we get different absolute motion, but the relative motion between the links remains the same for any type of inversion. Okay, so this is an important concept in kinematic inversion. Relative motion between links remain the same, whereas the absolute motion might be different. Okay, so the relative motion between each of the links for any type of inversion remains the same, but the absolute motion of the system might change. Okay, so this is why we do a kinematic inversion, to get different types of output from a particular mechanism. That is the reason why we do kinematic inversion. Okay, so now let's see the application of Grashof's law. So now let's say we, for the first case, okay, we fix the S, okay, length, shortest link fixed, okay, so shortest link fixed. Okay, so if we fix the shortest link in a Grashof chain, let's say we have a Grashof chain, the inequality is satisfied, this inequality is satisfied, okay, this inequality is satisfied, okay. If this inequality is satisfied in a particular 4-bar mechanism, for a 4-bar mechanism, if this inequality is satisfied, we will call this as a Grashof chain, okay, we will call this as a Grashof chain. So if there is a Grashof chain and we have fixed the shortest link, then let's say we have fixed the shortest link, this is the shortest link, the shortest link is fixed, okay, so this is the S, this is the shortest link fixed, okay. Longest link is adjacent, and P and Q are anything. Okay, so we have fixed the shortest link, okay, we have fixed the shortest link. In such a case, all of these links, let's say if we rotate this one, okay, this rotate this one, if we try to rotate this one, all of these links can perform a complete rotation, okay. So this link will perform a complete rotation like this, okay. So this link will perform a complete rotation, this will also perform a complete rotation, okay. So this link will also perform a complete rotation, this link will also perform a complete rotation, okay. So if shortest link is fixed, then all the other 3 links will perform complete rotation, okay. All other links perform complete rotation, okay. Okay, so if the shortest link of a Grashof chain is fixed, then all the other links will perform complete rotation, okay. In such a case, this mechanism is called as a double crank mechanism, okay. This is called as a double crank mechanism. Okay, so this mechanism is called as a double crank mechanism. Why double crank? Because this one will call this input link, this is the input link, okay, the input link will be called as a crank. It can perform a complete rotation, okay. Any link which can perform a complete rotation is called as a crank, okay. So let's say if this is the input link, this can perform a complete rotation, so this is a crank. This is the output link, this can also perform a complete rotation, so this can also be called as a crank, right. So that's why we will call this as a double crank mechanism, okay. Double crank mechanism, okay. So this is the first type of inversion, okay. So we will call this as a double crank mechanism, fine. Now let's move on to the next type. So now let's say shortest link is adjacent, okay. Let's say the shortest link is now adjacent to the frame, okay. So let's say we have the shortest link like this, okay, and one of the link is like this. This is frame, okay, this is our frame. So this is our frame, this is the shortest link, okay. So this is the shortest link, let's say some other, let's say LPQ. We are not bothered with the LPQ, these other links does not matter, as long as the shortest link is adjacent to the frame, okay, be it here or be it here, okay. Shortest link is adjacent to the frame, either here or either here, okay, in any of the 2 places. In this case, the shortest link can perform a complete rotation, okay. In such a case, this shortest link can perform a complete rotation, okay. So this shortest link can rotate completely, whereas this link can only oscillate, okay. This link can only oscillate and will not perform a complete rotation. This link cannot perform a complete rotation in such a case, okay. So this link can oscillate, at max go to, let's say, this extent, and it can, let's say, come back to this extent, okay. So this might be the domain of rotation of this link, okay, whereas this can perform a complete rotation, okay, this can perform a complete rotation, okay. So when the shortest link is adjacent to the frame, in that case we have one crank and this one is called as a rocker, okay. So this can oscillate, this can oscillate to and fro while this will rotate continuously. Such kind of mechanisms are used in wiper mechanisms, like car window shield wiper mechanism, okay. In car window shield wiper mechanism, so a motor is attached to this which rotates it completely, and this oscillates, okay, this oscillates. So this is what we call as a crank rocker mechanism. So this is a Grashof chain, and shortest link is the adjacent link to the frame. Shortest link is the adjacent to the frame, either here or here, okay. If the shortest link is placed over here, then this one will oscillate. If the shortest link is placed here, then this one will oscillate, okay. In such a case, we will call this as a crank rocker mechanism, okay. So we will have shortest link rotates, and output link rocks or oscillates. Okay, so this shortest link will perform a complete rotation, and this one can oscillate, okay. So that's why this is called as a crank rocker mechanism. Okay, so here we have two of the different types of inversions, okay. Either the shortest link can be placed here, or the shortest link can be placed here, okay. In both the cases, the other links output link will rock, okay. So there are two types of crank rocker mechanism. One, when we place the shortest link over here, and another one when the shortest link is placed over here, okay. In both the two cases, we will get a crank rocker mechanism, okay. Now let's consider the other case. Okay, so this link, okay, so this link is not in contact with the fixed frame, right? This link is not in contact with the fixed frame, right? Directly is not in contact with the fixed frame. So this link is called as a coupler. Okay, this link is called as a coupler. Okay. Now we see the last inversion of this, okay. Shortest link is the coupler, okay. Okay, in such a case, let's say the shortest link is the coupler. Okay, so the shortest link is the coupler. So this is the shortest link, this is the coupler, okay. Let's say this is L, this is P, this is Q. Anyways, the positions of these are arbitrary, it doesn't matter. The shortest link position matters, okay. If the shortest link is nowhere in contact with the frame, okay, that means the shortest link is the coupler. In such a case, both of these two links will rock, okay. This link will also rock, this link will also rock, okay. This link will rock, this link will also rock, but the shortest link can perform a full complete rotation, okay. Shortest link can perform, this link, shortest link, this can perform a full complete rotation, okay. This is what we call, this is what we get the information from the Grashof's law, right, that at least one of the link will perform a complete rotation. So here this shortest link will perform a complete rotation, where these two links will oscillate, whereas these two links, the input and output links, these two will oscillate or rock, okay, and the shortest link can perform a complete rotation, okay. So that's why this is called as a double rocker mechanism, okay. Shortest link rotates while others rock, okay. While others rock, shortest link rotates while others rock, and this is what we call as a double rocker mechanism. this is what we call as a double rocker mechanism. Fine. Okay. Now let's move on to the non-Grashof chain or the transition chain. What if we have a equality over here? Okay. So a Grashof chain is something which will have a less than equality sign. Okay. So till now we have checked only for the less than sign, right? Shortest link plus longest link is less than these two links, right? Now let's say if we have an equality. If we have an equality, then what happens? So when we have this equality is satisfied, we have a link called as the mechanism called as the parallelogram mechanism. Okay, we have a mechanism called as the parallelogram mechanism. Okay, we have a parallelogram mechanism. Let's see. Okay, so we have, this is what we call as a, you see this length and this length are equal, whereas this length and this lengths are equal. Okay, these two link lengths are equal and these two link lengths are equal. Okay, so in that case this equality will be satisfied. So this is what we call as a parallelogram mechanism. So in such a case, both this link and this link, okay, they can perform a complete rotation. This link can perform a complete rotation and this link can also perform a complete rotation. But there is one situation which needs to be understood. So when this link becomes horizontal, this link rotates and comes over here. Okay, so this link comes over here. So this link also rotates and comes over here. Okay, and we have a link like this. Okay, so in this case, all the four links are lying along a single line, right? So this is what we call as a toggle position. Okay, this is what we call as a toggle position. Okay, so this is what we call as a toggle position. In such a case, what happens? This mechanism gets locked. Okay, so this mechanism gets jammed or locked. Okay, this mechanism gets jammed or locked. So what happens is that this link rotates like this, and this links also simultaneously, this also rotates and comes, all the links come in a straight line. Okay, all the links come in a straight line, and in such a case no input torque can be transmitted. Okay, let's say if we are giving some input torque over here, the whole of this cannot be transmitted. Okay, nothing can be transmitted and this mechanism will become locked. Okay, this position is what we call as the toggle position. Okay, this is what we call as the toggle position. So now let's see, this is the only type of mechanism possible for an equality. This is also, sometimes this is also called as a transition chain. Okay, instead of a Grashof chain, this is also called as a transition chain or transition mechanism. Okay, this is also called as a transition chain. Okay, in transition chain what will happen is that this equality will be satisfied. Okay, so now let's consider the case when this equality is not satisfied. Okay, and this becomes instead greater. Okay, so in this is not a Grashof criteria. So in this case, this is a non-Grashof chain. Okay, so this is a non-Grashof chain. Fine. Okay, so this is a non-Grashof chain. So if there is a non-Grashof chain, there won't be any link which will be performing a complete rotation. Okay, for any type of non-Grashof chain, if this inequality is satisfied, the sum of the length of the shortest and the longest link is larger than the sum of the other two link lengths. Okay, in this case, this is a non-Grashof chain and there won't be any links which will be performing a complete rotation. Okay, so non-Grashof chain, or what we call as a triple rocker mechanism. Triple rocker mechanism. Okay, triple rocker mechanism. Whatever we can fix any of the link lengths, we will get triple rocker mechanism. Okay, whichever link we can fix, any of the link we can fix, in all the cases we will get a triple rocker mechanism if we have a non-Grashof chain. Okay, if we have a non-Grashof chain. Okay, so for a 4-bar mechanism, to have at least one link performing a complete rotation, we should have a Grashof chain only. Then only there will be at least one link which will be satisfying or performing a complete rotation. Okay. If there is any non-Grashof chain, there won't be any link which will be performing a complete rotation. Okay. In this case, all the three links will be rocking only, will be oscillating. Okay. So let's try to solve one problem from GATE, which have appeared in GATE. So this is a question from GATE 2014. Okay, so we have a 4R mechanism. Okay, so these are the link lengths LF 20 mm, L in 40 mm, LCO equals to 50 mm, L out equals to 60 mm. Okay, so we are required to find out how many links will perform rotations. Okay, this is question from GATE 2014. This is a question from GATE 2014. So what are the meanings of this? LF implies fixed link. LF implies fixed link. Okay, LF implies fixed link. LIN implies input link. LCO implies coupler, link length of the coupler, and out implies output link. Okay, so let's draw this mechanism. So we have a link length like this. Okay, so this is the shortest. So this is S, let's say. This is L, let's say this is P, this is Q. Okay. Okay. So here we see that the shortest link. Okay. This LF is 20 mm, so this is 20 mm. This is the shortest link. So shortest link has been fixed. Okay. So now we cannot say that this will be a double rocker or double crank mechanism. At this point, we cannot say that this will be a double crank mechanism. Why? Because we do not know whether this is a Grashof chain or not. Okay. So first of all, for any 4-bar mechanism, it is essential that we check whether this satisfies Grashof's law or not. Okay. It is very essential that we check whether this 4-bar chain satisfies the Grashof criteria or not. Okay. So let's see. So LF is equals to 20. So the shortest plus longest link, this is the shortest link and this is the longest link. So 20 plus 60 is 80. Okay. And P plus Q is 50 plus 40 is 90, right? Okay. So this criteria is satisfied, right? So this criteria is satisfied. This criteria is satisfied, right? S plus L is less than equals to P is less than P plus Q. This criteria is satisfied. So this implies that this is a Grashof chain. Once we know that this is a Grashof chain, now we know that the shortest link has been fixed. Okay, since the shortest link has been fixed, so this implies that all the three links will be performing a complete rotation. Okay, all three links perform rotation. All three links perform rotation, perform complete rotation. Okay, so this is a question from GATE 2014. We were required to find out. Okay, we were required to find out how many links will perform a complete rotation. So all the three links will perform a complete rotation. Okay, so let's try out another problem. So we have a mechanism like this. We have a mechanism like this. Okay, so this is 9 mm, this is 7, this is 5, and this is 10. Okay, so we are required to find out what type of mechanism is this. Okay, we are required to find out what type of mechanism is this. Okay, so first of all, the first idea is to check whether this is a Grashof chain or not. Okay, we are required to check whether this is a Grashof chain or not. So for that, the shortest link is this. This is the shortest link, this is the longest link, and this is, let's say, P and Q. Okay, so we see that S plus L, okay, is equals to 15. Okay, and we have P plus Q. P plus Q we have 7, 9, 16. Okay, so this is always less than this. So S plus L is less than P plus Q. Fine. S plus L is less than P plus Q. So this is a Grashof chain. So this is a Grashof chain. Okay, and we see that the shortest link is made as the coupler, right? It is nowhere in contact with the ground, nowhere in contact with the fixed points. So the shortest link is made as the coupler. So this implies that this is a double rocker mechanism. This is a double rocker mechanism. Okay, so this is a double rocker mechanism. Now let's learn the concept of what do we mean by mechanical advantage. Okay. Okay, so let's understand what do we mean by mechanical advantage. Okay, so in the case of a 4-bar mechanism, let's understand what do we mean by mechanical advantage. Okay, so let's say we have a 4-bar mechanism like this. Okay, we have a 4-bar mechanism. Okay, so this is a 4-bar mechanism. So we will be applying some input torque. We'll be applying some input torque. Okay, so we'll be applying some input torque. This input torque will be resisted by some forces over here, right? That means if you understand, let's say if we apply some torque over here, this will be resisted by a force like this, right? There will be a force exerted by this link, let's say 3 on 2, right? There will be some force exerted by 3 on 2, like in this direction. Okay, in this direction, right? So this torque will be resisted by this torque, this force, right? This input torque will be resisted by this force, right? Okay, similarly the same amount of force will be transmitted over here. The same amount of force will be transmitted over here, and this force will be acting on this link, which will be trying to rotate it. Okay, so this force will be creating a moment of this link, on this link about this point. This force will be creating a torque. Basically this force will be creating a torque or moment on this link about this point, right? So let's say this is the output torque, this is the output torque, and this is the input torque. Okay, so the mechanical advantage in a 4-bar mechanism is defined as the ratio of the output torque to the input torque. Okay, so the ratio of the output torque to the input torque. Okay, okay, so the mechanical advantage of a 4-bar mechanism is defined as ratio of the output torque to the input torque. Okay, so this is the definition: mechanical advantage, ratio of output torque to the input torque. Okay, now let's simplify. So this output torque can be given as, let's say if this angle is, let's say some gamma, so this angle will also be gamma. Let's say if this angle between these two links, link 3 and 4 is gamma. Okay, so this angle will also be gamma, vertically opposite angle. This is the vertically opposite angle. Okay, so we can resolve this force, one parallel to the link and one perpendicular to the link, right? One parallel and one perpendicular we can resolve. So the perpendicular component will be this F sin gamma. So the F sin gamma times the link length, let's say link length is the L output. Okay, this is the force, the resolution is F cos gamma, F sin gamma, right? So this F sin gamma will be creating a moment about this point. will be creating a moment about this point. So F sine gamma times this link length L naught is the moment about this point. So this is the output moment or torque, okay, divided by the input torque, right? So the input torque is equal to this resisting force, Similarly, we can also write this as okay. So let's say this is our link length. This is our let's say some alpha. So if this is alpha, so this is also alpha. This is also alpha. This is also alpha, or let's say rather beta. Let's consider this as beta. Okay. So this is beta. So this is also beta, vertically opposite angle. Okay. And this will be 180 degree minus beta. This will be 180 degree minus beta. Okay, so we can resolve this force, one parallel to this and one perpendicular to this, right? Perpendicular to this link. Okay, one perpendicular to this link. Okay, so this will be F sine of 180 degree minus beta, okay, times the link length, okay. So this link length is Li. So sine of 180 degree minus beta is sine beta, right? So this F gets cancelled. So we have L output sine gamma by L input sine beta. Okay. So this is our mechanical advantage for a 4-bar mechanism. Okay. So this is our mechanical advantage for a 4-bar mechanism. So what do we see? That the mechanical advantage depends on the angle between output link and the coupler, and the angle between input link and the coupler, right? The mechanical advantage depends on the angle between input link and the coupler and the output link and the coupler, right? This sine gamma by sine beta, this ratio, right? So this mechanical advantage throughout the motion of this mechanism will keep on changing, right? Will keep on changing. So this mechanical advantage will not remain constant throughout. It will keep on changing depending on this gamma and beta. Okay. Depending on this gamma and beta, this mechanical advantage will be changing. Okay. Now let's say if this beta becomes 0 or 180 degree, if this beta becomes 0 or 180 degree, in that case sine quantity will be 0. In that case sine 0 degree is 0, sine 180 is also 0. If this quantity becomes 0, the mechanical advantage will tend to infinity. Okay. So that means if the angle between the input link and the coupler becomes 0 or 180 degree, okay, 0 or 180 degree, that means these two links become parallel or anti-parallel. In such a case, the mechanical advantage will tend to infinity and the position will be called as the toggle position. Okay, we have seen earlier in the parallelogram mechanism, this position is called as the toggle position. So in a toggle position, the mechanical advantage tends to infinity. Okay, so we will try to solve one problem based on this mechanical advantage. Okay. So what do we understand by mechanical advantage? Mechanical advantage is the ratio of the output torque to the input torque. Okay, and from this we can derive this L0 sine gamma by L0 sine beta. Okay, it is dependent on the link length ratio of the link lengths and the angle between the coupler and the output link to the angle between the coupler and the input link. This is our mechanical advantage. So we will try to solve one problem based on this. Okay. So we will try to solve a problem based on the concept of mechanical advantage. Okay. So let's consider a 4-bar mechanism like this. Okay, so this is a 4-bar mechanism. So O2, A, B, C. So this link length is 120 mm. This is 60 mm. This is 100, and this is 130. Okay, this is 130. This angle is 30 degree. This angle is given as 30 degrees. this angle is given as 30 degree. So we are required to find out the mechanical advantage. Okay, we are required to find out the mechanical advantage. Fine. So as a first step in solving this problem, we are required to find out the mechanical advantage. That means the angle between this link is required, okay, and the angle between these two links is required, right? Okay, this angle is required. Okay, so if we draw a line like this, so if we draw a line like this, this link length is extended like this, okay, and this link length is extended like this. So this angle is required. This angle is required, which is equal to this angle. This will give us the mechanical advantage, and we are required to find out this angle also. Okay, this will give us the output angle, and this will give us the input angle. Fine. So now let's try to find out the mechanical advantage. So as a first step, we will draw one line from here to here, A to C. Okay, so this AC line is drawn, this line AC is drawn. Okay, so we have ABC as a triangle. Fine, ABC is a triangle. Okay, we have ABC as a triangle. So AC length is unknown to us now. So as a first, from this triangle, this triangle O2AC, this triangle O2AC. Okay, so this one is the triangle, this bottom one, this bottom is the triangle. Okay, from this triangle we will first find out what is this AC. Okay, how? We know the cosine formula, right? We know this cosine formula. So what is the cosine formula? So we have, let's say we have a triangle like this, any arbitrary triangle, and we have an angle, let's say this is alpha. Okay, so this is alpha. Let's say we have, this is A, this is B, and this is C. Okay, so the cosine formula is given as cos of alpha with respect to this triangle. Cos of alpha is equals to A square plus B square minus C square. Okay, the square of the sum of the squares of the adjacent sides minus the opposite side divided by twice AB. Okay, so this is the cosine formula. So we will use it over here to determine AC. Okay, so this AC we are unknown, we don't know AC, but we know this angle 30 degree. We know this is 30 degree. This is given in the question. We will use this to find out what is the link length AC. Not link length, basically this length AC. So from this O2C we see cos 30 degree, this is equals to O2A square plus O2C square minus AC square, right, divided by 2 times of O2A O2C. Okay, okay, so this is our cosine formula that we have used. This is our cosine formula. Fine. So cos 30 degree is root 3 by 2. O2A square is 60 square plus O2C is 120 square minus AC square twice O2A is 60, O2C is 120. So solving this gives AC. By solving this equation, this one, we get AC is equals to 74.36 mm. Okay, so by solving this we get AC equals to 74.36 mm. So this is the distance between A and C. This length we have found out. Okay, so now we can find this angle out directly. This angle, let's say this is gamma. This angle can be found from this triangle. We know this length. We can use the cosine formula again. We can again use cos gamma over here, and we can find out this output angle, right? We can find out this output angle. So let's try to find that out. This is the AC length. So we use from triangle ABC. Okay, so cos gamma equals to 100 square plus 130 square minus 74.36 square. Okay, divided by 2 into 100 into 130. Okay. Okay, so from this triangle we are finding out this angle gamma, this output angle gamma. So from this we get gamma is equals to cos inverse of minus 0. It's not minus, basically this is 0.8219. 8219. So this angle comes out to be 34.724. Okay, so this gamma angle, this angle gamma, output angle gamma is equal to 34.724 degree. Okay. Okay, so now we are required to find out this angle, right? This angle between this link and this link. How do we find out? So we will separate into two parts. First we use this triangle, use the cosine formula to find this angle. Okay, use the cosine formula to find this angle, and then we use this triangle O2AC to use the cosine formula to find this angle. Sum of these two angles is equal to the angle between these two links. This is the idea. So idea is that first of all, from this triangle ABC we find out this angle. Then in the second step, from triangle O2AC we find out this angle. So the sum of these two angles is the link angle between the link O2A and AB. Okay. So CAB, right? So cos of, from triangle ABC, so cos of angle BAC is equals to AB square plus AC square, 74.36, 74.36 square minus 130 square, 2 into, so this is equals to minus 0.09216. 09216. So from this we get angle CAB, this is equals to cos inverse of this, which is equal to 95.29. Okay, so we have found angle CAB, okay, angle CAB to be 95.29 degree. Okay, so we have found angle CAB to be this angle to be 95.29 degrees. Now we will use cosine formula again in this triangle O2AC. So we use the cosine formula again in triangle O2AC. So cos of angle O2AC, this is equals to O2AC, right? So this angle, so O2A square 60 square plus AC is 74.36 square minus 120 square, 2 into 60 into 74.36. This is equals to minus 0.591, cos inverse of minus 0.591. So this is O2AC equals to (126.23). Okay. So the obtuse angle O2AB, the obtuse angle O2AB, angle O2AB, the obtuse angle is equals to angle O2AC plus angle O2AC plus angle CAB, angle CAB. Okay, this is equals to 126.23 plus 95.29, which is equal to 221.52. Okay, which is equals to 221.52. Fine. So we have found out this angle. So we have found out this angle. So we know this angle. Okay, gamma. We know this angle 30 degree. We know this angle also. This angle can be found out. Sum of the four angles is equal to 360 degree. That can be found out. Anyways, this is not required. Okay. So now we can find out the mechanical advantage easily. Okay, we can find out the mechanical advantage easily. Okay, so now you understand, now we try to understand this situation, that here okay, so now we try to understand that here this is the extension and this is the extension. Okay, so these two angles, this angle and this angle, right, these two are vertically opposite angles, these are vertically opposite angles, so we need this angle, right, for mechanical advantage, but we have found out this complete angle, right, this complete angle. So this complete angle is equals to 221.56, maybe something like this. Yes, 221.52 degree. So we have found out this complete angle is 221.52, right, but this angle, this is 180 degree from here to here, this angle is 180 degree. So this angle is 180 degree. So this 221 is whole this degree, right, this whole angle, and this is up to this is 180 degree. So 221 minus 180 degree gives us this angle, correct? So we have 221 this minus 180 degree, this gives us this angle, which is this angle, and once this angle is found, this is equal to this angle. So we have mechanical advantage as output is 130 length times sine gamma, sine of gamma we have found out as 34.724, okay, degrees, okay, times input length is 60 multiplied with sine of, this is important, so this is 221 is the complete length, 221.52 minus 180 degree. Okay, so this is our mechanical advantage. From this we get a 74.05 divided by 39.77. We get the mechanical advantage as 1.8. Okay, so this is the mechanical advantage. Okay, so this is a complex type of problem that we have solved. We have tried to find out the mechanical advantage for a particular 4-bar mechanism. Okay, there is another important aspect for a 4-bar mechanism which we call as the transmission angle. Okay, let's understand what is a transmission angle then. Let's understand what do we mean by a transmission angle. Okay, so let's understand the concept of transmission angle. Okay, So what is transmission angle? So let's say if we have a 4-bar mechanism, something like this, some 4-bar mechanism like this. Okay, so the transmission angle is the angle between the output link and the coupler. Okay, so transmission angle is the angle between the output link, this is the output link, and the coupler. Okay, so the angle between the output link and the coupler is called as the transmission angle. Okay, angle between output link and coupler, this is what we call as the transmission angle. So this transmission angle can be found out geometrically for most of the 4-bar mechanisms. Okay, so first of all we need to identify whether this is a Grashof chain or not. If this is a Grashof chain, so the transmission angle, this crank can make a complete rotation, right? So the transmission angle will have a maximum and a minimum. Okay, so let's say if the crank becomes something like this, if the crank becomes something like this, let's say this, considering this as the crank. Okay, so if the crank becomes something like this, and this is the coupler and this is the output link. Okay, so in this case, so this is the our minimum transmission angle. Okay, so for a Grashof chain, when the crank becomes horizontal, the transmission angle will become maximum and minimum. Okay, the crank can be horizontal like this, or the crank can be horizontal like this. Okay, so these are the two extremes when the transmission angle will be maximum and minimum only for a Grashof chain. Okay, why? Because for a Grashof chain only the crank can, this one can perform a complete rotation. For a non-Grashof chain, this input link cannot perform a complete rotation, right? In this case, this configuration cannot be reached. For a non-Grashof chain, this configuration of the input link cannot be reached, right? So in that case, transmission angle remains, the definition remains the same, but extremities has to be found out. Okay, for a Grashof chain, when the crank becomes horizontal like this or like this, the transmission angle will attain its maximum or minimum. Okay, for a non-Grashof chain, we have to look for the extremities. Okay, if let's say if this is a non-Grashof chain, so the extremities will be something when this link becomes horizontal with this. Okay, when this link, input and the coupler becomes horizontal like this, lying along a same straight line like this. Okay, in this case, this transmission angle will attain one of the extremities. Another extremities, this might attain. Okay, this might attain when this link will become something like, will come over here and this will become in a straight line. This will become in a straight line, something like this. Okay, so for the non-Grashof chain, this is our crank like this, and this is our coupler, and this is our this. So this is another our transmission angle. Okay, so the transmission angle can attain its extremities or maximum and minimum for a non-Grashof chain when the input link and the coupler comes in a single straight line. In those cases, the transmission angle will be maximum. Okay, so there are two conclusions that we have derived: Grashof chain, transmission angle, maximum oblique minimum when crank or input link becomes horizontal. When input link becomes horizontal. Okay, if it is a double rocker mechanism, then this kind of extremities has to be checked. If it is a double rocker mechanism for a Grashof chain, then this kind of extremities has to be checked. Okay, for a non-Grashof chain or double rocker mechanism. Okay, so for a Grashof chain, transmission angle attains its maximum or minimum when the input link becomes horizontal, either this way or in the opposite way. Okay, in these two configurations, the transmission angle will attain its maximum and minimum. Okay, for a Grashof chain. Now if we have a non-Grashof chain or a double rocker mechanism, okay, non-Grashof chain oblique double rocker mechanism, Okay, for such a case, transmission angle becomes maximum oblique minimum, maximum or minimum when input link and the coupler comes along a same straight line in a single straight line. Okay, so when we have a double rocker mechanism or a non-Grashof chain, or that means a triple rocker mechanism, in such kind of cases, when the input link and the coupler becomes collinear, okay, becomes collinear or coming along a single straight line, okay, when the input link and the coupler comes along a single straight line, then the transmission angle will attain its maximum or minimum, like this or like this. Okay, in this case it is maximum, in this case it is minimum. Okay, so these are the 4 conclusions that we have drawn. Using these 4 conclusions, we will try to solve one problem. Okay. So we have a 4-bar mechanism like this. So this is 8 inch, this is 20 inch, this is 16 inch, this is 16 inch. Okay, so we are required to find out number 1, maximum and minimum transmission angle. Okay, maximum and minimum transmission angle, and number 2, the angle of rock of this. Okay, angle of rock of the output bar. Okay, angle of rock of the output bar, that means how much this angle is rocking. Okay, so we are required to find out the angle of rock of this output bar. Okay, so let's try to solve this problem. So as a first step, let's mark it. Let's say A, B, C, D. Okay, let's consider this angle as alpha. So from this triangle ABC, this triangle, okay, these two are in a straight line. So first of all, let's identify whether this can rotate or not. Let's identify whether this can rotate or not. This is a Grashof chain or not. Let's see. So we have the shortest link is this, S plus L equal to 8 plus 20. We have 28. P plus Q is 16 plus 16, 32. Okay, so we have a Grashof chain over here, right? So we have a Grashof chain over here. We have a Grashof chain over here. So this link can make a complete turn like this. This link can complete turn like this. So this is the situation that was given in the question. Since it is a Grashof chain and we have a shortest link as the adjacent link, right? So that means this can completely rotate. That means this link can completely rotate. This can perform a complete rotation like this. So when it performs a complete rotation and comes like this, it will be, the chain will become something like this. Okay, chain will become something like this. So in this case, this will be the minimum transmission angle, right? This will be the minimum transmission angle. How do we find out? How do we find out this? So when this comes over here, we know this length is known to us, this length is known to us, this length is also known to us, and this length is also known to us, right? Fine. So this total is 16, right? Please try to understand that this total length is given as 16. when this crank rotates, and comes over here, it rotates and comes over here, so this part will be 8. This is the crank length, which will not change. This will come over here and become 8. This is also 8. So this distance, this is, let's say, D point, so this dB is 8 now. Total is 16, this is 8, so this is also 8. This is the coupler length, CD, which will be 20, and this is the BC, right, output link. So using the cosine formula, this cos of gamma min is equals to 20 square plus 16 square. This 20 square plus 16 square minus 8 square, right? Minus 8 square divided by 2 into 20 into 16. Okay. So this is the expression for the minimum transmission angle. So this becomes 0.925. Okay. So from this we get gamma minimum cos inverse of 0.925. This is equals to 22.33 degrees. Okay, so this is the minimum transmission angle that we have found out. Okay, so this is the minimum transmission angle. Okay, so this is the minimum transmission angle. So now we are required to find out what is the maximum transmission angle. Since this is a Grashof chain, so this link will come over here. It can rotate and come over here. So this is, let's draw the diagram then. Now you understand. If had it not been a Grashof chain, then this would have been at the extremities, right? These were the extremities. This was an extreme condition then. If it were not a Grashof chain, then this would have been an extreme condition. Okay, but since it is a Grashof chain, this can further rotate and come over here, and this angle will further decrease. Okay. Now let's try to draw the other extreme condition. So it can come over here. Okay, so in this case, link length will be something like this. Okay, this link length. So this is 8 plus 16, right? So A will be over here. This is C, this is D, and this is our, somewhere will be in between B. We are not bothered. Okay, so this is our A point. Something has been changed. Okay. So this is our B point. This was our B point. So this is our B point. B. Okay. So this point will basically come over here. Let's say it is B or something. Basically come over here. So this will be the scenario. This will be the extreme scenario. Okay. So this is the maximum transmission angle, right? This is the maximum transmission angle. Okay. So how can we find it? This length is known to us, 16. Here this was 16 plus 8. This length is known. This length is also known. So we have cos of gamma max equals to, this link length is 20 square plus 16 square minus 16 plus 8 is 24 square. Okay, divided by 2 into 20 into 16. This is coming out to be, so this is coming out to be 0.125. So gamma max is cos inverse of this, cos inverse of 0.125, which is nothing but 82.8 82.819 degrees. Okay, so 82.819 degrees, this is the maximum transmission angle and this is the minimum transmission angle. Okay, these are the maximum and the minimum transmission angles. Okay, so now what we are required to find out? We are required to find out the angle of rock. Okay, so angle of rock, so between the rocker can this rocker can rock only between these extremities of the transmission angle. So we are required to find out this angle when it is at this extreme and another one at this extreme, right? So in between will be the angle of rock. So let's try to find it out. So let's draw a vertical line right now. Okay, let's draw a vertical line. So what is the idea? How do we find out? So first of all we find out this angle. What is this angle? We find it out. We find it out this angle first of all. Once we know this angle can be found out, right, with respect to the vertical, right? This is the deviation from the vertical, right? Similarly, this rocker will also deviate in this direction from the vertical, right? When it deviates in this direction, something like this. Okay, something like this. So again, if we can find out this angle, so 90 degree minus this angle will give us this angle, right? So this will be the total angle of rock. This will be the total angle of rock. So we need to find out first this angle and this angle. Okay, so we will first try to find out this angle. This can be found out again from the cosine formula. Okay, this can be again found out from the cosine formula. Cos of, let's say this one is θ1. This is equals to. So let's just draw a fresh diagram so that it is easily understood. So this is the extreme condition. This is one of the extreme condition. Okay, so this is one of the extreme condition. Let's consider this as angle alpha 1. Okay, and this consider this angle as θ1. Okay, so cos of θ1, this is equals to, this is basically equals to 24 square. This is 24 square plus we have 16 square. 24 square plus 16 square minus 20 square divided by 2 into 24 into 16. Okay, so from this we get θ1 to be equal to, from this equation we will get θ1 to be equal to 55.77. Okay, so from this we will get this θ1 to be equal to 55.77. So alpha 1 will basically become equal to 90 degrees minus 55.77. Okay, so this angle is, this is our alpha 1 angle. Okay, this is one of the extremity. Another extremity will be this one. So this total angle will be the angle of rock. So half part we have found out. Okay, the other part we will find out from the other extremity. Okay, so this is equals to 90 minus 55.7. This is 34.23 degrees. Okay, this is 34.23 degrees. Fine. Now let's try to draw the next extremity. The next extremity is something like this. Crank will be somewhere here. This will be the mechanism. So this angle is gamma mean, which we have already found out. This is our gamma minimum. This we have already found out. So now let's try to find out this angle. So if we can find out this angle, then from this triangle, this is the external angle. So this external angle is equal to sum of these two angles, right? This is the property of a triangle. Okay, if we have an external angle is equal to sum of two opposite internal angles, right? Okay, or you can give it something like this. So this external angle is equal to sum of two opposite internal angles. Same over here, external angle equal to sum of two opposite internal angles. Okay, so let's find out this angle. How much is this angle? We know already the minimum. Okay, let's try to find out. This one is, let's say, delta. So we have cos delta equals to 8 square. This one is 8, so 8 square plus this one is 20. Okay, 8 square plus 20 square minus this 16 square. 2 into 8 into 20. From this we find out delta to be equal to 49.46. Okay, from this we find out delta to be 49.46. So this angle, this external angle, let's say this is theta 2. So theta 2 is equal to delta plus gamma mean. This becomes equal to 71.79. Okay, so theta 2 we have found out 71.79. Fine. So 71.79. Okay, so from vertical, if this angle is 71.79, from vertical how much will be this angle? 90 degree minus this. So alpha 2 is equals to 90 degree minus 71.79. This is equals to 18.21. Okay, so this is equals to 18.21. So angle of rock becomes equal to angle of rock 18.21 plus 34 point. So this is equals to 52.44. Okay, so this is our these three are the parts of the questions that we have solved. Okay, so now let's try to look at a different mechanism. Okay, different chain of mechanisms. Instead of a 4R mechanism, now let's say we have 3R 1P mechanism. Okay, which we call as the slider crank chain. Okay, so we will consider the slider crank chain. This is basically 3R 1P mechanism. Okay, 3 revolute pair, 1 prismatic pair mechanism. Okay, so the first inversion of this is the slider crank mechanism. Slider crank mechanism. Okay, this is the first inversion. So we have a crank, something like this. This is the coupler connecting rod, and this is the piston. Okay, so we have 3 revolute pairs. This is one, this is one, this is one. 3 revolute pairs, and one of them is the prismatic pair. Okay, so when this crank rotates, this slider oscillates. Okay, this slider oscillates. So this is the first inversion of the slider crank mechanism or the slider crank chain. We call this as a slider crank mechanism. So these kind of systems are used in engines, compressors. Okay, if this crank is driven by the piston, it is an engine. If this piston is driven by the crank, it is a compressor. Okay, this is a slider crank chain. Now instead of this longest link, this is the longest link, right, which has been fixed in this case. Instead of fixing the longest link, now let's say if we fix the shortest link. Okay, if we fix the shortest link, okay, so if we instead of fixing the longest link, if we fix the shortest link, okay, then what we get is what we call as the Whitworth quick return mechanism. Okay, Whitworth quick return mechanism. Okay, so we will see Whitworth quick return mechanism. So instead of the longest link, now we have fixed the shortest link. Okay, so this is the shortest link. We have a link like this, and we have a link like this. Okay, so this link is extended like this, and from here we have another link connected like this, and this one is a, let's say, another slider or a tool. Okay, so what happens is that this is what we call as a Whitworth quick return mechanism. The shortest link is fixed over here. Okay, this is the longest link. So as this one rotates, as this link rotates, keeps on rotating like this, the slider slides relative to this longest link. Okay, relative to this longest link, the slider can slide, and this link can rotate about this point. So as this link rotates like this one will push this, and this tool will move forward. Okay, this tool will move forward. So the extreme conditions of this are, when this slider reaches over this point, this slider is at this point. This is one of the extreme condition. Another extreme condition is slider is at this point. Okay, so these are the extreme conditions. So what happens is that when this link rotates like this, the forward stroke is slower and the return stroke is faster. That means this tool will travel at a much slow rate as compared to when it returns back. Okay, that's why this is called as a quick return mechanism. So basically this tool will cut some metal or something when it advances, and while return it does not cut anything, so it comes out faster. Okay, so the return stroke is faster than the forward stroke. That's why it is called as the quick return mechanism. Okay, so this is what we call as a Whitworth quick return mechanism. Okay, so what is this quick return mechanism? This is a Whitworth quick return mechanism. The forward stroke is slower than the return stroke. Okay, there is something what we call as the quick return ratio. Okay, this is the forwarding stroke to the return stroke, this ratio to the return stroke. Okay, quick return ratio is defined as the ratio between the forwarding stroke and the return stroke. Okay, this is what we call as a quick return ratio. So this quick return ratio basically is proportional to the angle of traverse of this circle, of this crank. Okay, so these are the extreme position. So this is the position when the return stroke takes place. This is the smaller angle, and the larger obtuse angle, this one is larger obtuse angle, it is the forwarding stroke. Okay, this is the forwarding stroke. So this forwarding by return, let's say this is beta and this is alpha. So quick return ratio is given as beta by alpha. Okay, this quick return ratio is given as beta by alpha. Okay, so we have to remember that for a Whitworth quick return mechanism, the shortest link is always fixed. Okay, the shortest link being fixed is called as the Whitworth quick return mechanism. Okay, so we have once fixed the longest link, we obtained the slider crank mechanism. We have now fixed the shortest link, we obtained the Whitworth quick return mechanism. Now we will fix this link, the intermediate link. Okay, if we fix the intermediate link, we will get what we call as the crank and slotted lever. Quick return mechanism. Okay, it is something like this. So we have the intermediate link fixed. Okay, we have the intermediate link, the fixed. The shortest link is something like this. It has a slider attached. We have a longest link like this. Okay, and from this point we have another link like this. Okay, we have a shortest link like this. So this link is fixed. So this crank can rotate in the clockwise direction. In Whitworth quick return mechanism, the rotating links were in the anti-clockwise direction. In the crank and slotted lever, this crank will rotate in the clockwise direction. Okay, so again this will be the intermediate link, this will be the shortest, and this will be the longest link. Fine. So how do we find out the quick return ratio in this case? Quick return ratio, so we have to look for the extremes. So the extreme condition will be when this crank becomes perpendicular to this link. Okay, this is this perpendicularity. Similarly, in the opposite direction, like this, when this angle becomes perpendicular. So these are the extreme conditions. So this is the return stroke, return angle, and this is the advancing angle, right? So this is beta, this is alpha, so this is equal to beta by alpha. Okay, so we will try to solve one or two problems, okay, using the quick return part. So this is from GATE 2009. This is from GATE 2009. Okay, so we are given a crank and slotted lever quick return mechanism. We are given a crank and slotted lever quick return mechanism. Okay, so the crank length is given as 125 mm. Okay, this crank length is given as 125 mm. Quick return ratio is given as 2:1. This quick return ratio is given. Okay, so this distance is d between this length is d. So we are required to find out this d. Okay, what is this d? We are required to find out. Fine, this is from GATE 2009. So let's find out. So the extreme condition is like this, and this will be perpendicular to this. Okay, so this is one of the extreme condition. So let's consider this angle as alpha. Okay, so if this angle is 90 degrees, so this is the hypotenuse, this is d. Fine. Similarly, when it goes in the other direction, this will also be the case. This angle will also be alpha. Okay, so the total angle is 360 degrees. So this total angle is 360 degrees. So the return stroke is 2 alpha. So quick return ratio is 2. Okay, forwarding stroke is 360 minus 2 alpha. Okay, return stroke is 2 alpha. Fine, so we find out what is alpha. Okay, so we find that this angle alpha in the extreme case is 60 degrees. Okay, so if we know that this angle is 60 degrees, we know this link length is given in the question. So from cos alpha, from this triangle we see cos of alpha is equals to base by hypotenuse, right? Crank length 125 divided by d. From this we find d is equals to 125 by cos 60. Cos 60 is half, so nothing but 250 mm. Okay, so this is the solution to the problem. Fine. So we will try to solve another problem from GATE 2014. So this is from GATE 2014. So there is an offset slider crank. Okay, so this is called as a offset slider crank mechanism because the line of action of this piston movement or the slider movement does not pass through this hinge point. Okay, this is why this is called as a offset slider crank mechanism. So this offset is given as 10 mm. Okay, this is 20 mm, this is 40 mm. Okay, so for this offset slider crank mechanism, we are required to find out what is the quick return ratio. We are required to find out quick return ratio. Again, quick return ratio will be ratio of the forwarding stroke to backward stroke. Okay, ratio of the forward to backward stroke. So the extremities needs to be found out. Okay, so one of the extremity is this. when this moves to the extreme point, when this crank and this coupler or this connecting rod, this coupler comes in a straight line, this slider will move to its extreme position, which will be something like this. So this distance is given as E, right? This distance is given as E. Okay, crank length is 20, this length is 40. So E, this, how much is this angle? How much is this angle? Let's say this angle is some theta 1. So we have sine theta 1 equals to 10 divided by 60. 9.59 degrees. Okay, so this is the extreme position, first extreme position. Okay, now when this crank rotates like this, and it will come somewhere like this, the slider will move in this direction and it will be at another extreme. Okay, this is the another extreme. So let's consider this one. So this is another extreme. This distance is still E. This is still E. Okay, this is still E. So this is the total length of the connecting rod, and this is the crank. Okay, this is the crank. So again, from this triangle we can find out this angle, this triangle. So E divided by this distance, right? How much is this distance? Total 40 minus 20. So this is 20, right? So this is, let's say, angle theta 2, sine theta 2 is equals to 10 by 20, half theta 2 equals to 30 degrees. So now we know the extremities, right? Now we know the extremities of this problem. So if this is theta 2, so this is also theta 2, vertically opposite angle. Okay, vertically opposite angle. So how much was the forwarding stroke and how much was the backwarding stroke? Okay, so the backwarding stroke was something like this. Okay, so we need to find out this angle. How do we find out this angle? We have already found out this angle, theta 1. So this angle will be 180 degree minus theta 2. This is a straight line. So this is 180 degree. This is theta 2. So this angle will be 180 degree minus theta 2 will be this angle plus theta 1. 180 degree minus theta 2 plus theta 1. So we have return stroke, which is, let's say, alpha, 180 degree minus theta 2 okay, 180 degree, this is total 180 degree minus theta 2 plus theta 1 is 9.59. Okay, 159.59. This is the angle for the return stroke, right? This is the angle for the return stroke. So the angle for the forwarding stroke will be, beta equals to 360 degrees minus this alpha, which is equals to 200.41 degrees. Okay, 200.41 degrees. So the quick return ratio is equals to beta by alpha is equals to 200.41 divided by 159.59. Okay, so this comes out to be 1.26. Okay, so this is the solution to the problem. Okay, so with this I would like to end today's lecture. So in the next lecture we will start off with the velocity analysis. So the basic mechanism analysis has been completed. So from the next lecture onwards we will start with velocity and acceleration analysis. Thank you.